Today we're going to be showing how to do an LED wheel glow installation on a 2012 Yamaha Stryker. Behind me you can see that I've already removed the front and the rear wheel. If you've done the installation properly, your wheels should look a little something like this. Take note on a couple of things. Where the LEDs are stuck onto the inside of the wheel, you'll notice that the connection is laid very close to the hole of the hollow center of the wheel. Next, you're also going to notice a ring. This ring is used to conduct electricity from your brush block over to your wheel. It's a fairly simple process, but if you notice, all the LEDs that are mounted on this wheel have been pulled through the wheel hub, reduced down to one positive and one negative. We have supplied you with a Molex connector and a ring. All the positive and negatives are going to be reduced down to one positive, one negative, and connected to one side of the Molex connector. The other side will be used for the ring. We choose, and we also recommend, using the negative on the outermost part of the ring and the positive one spaced over. We always make a mark just so we don't get confused with a negative and a positive sign to help you along. Underneath the ring where it's mounted, you'll notice that we placed the double-sided 3M Velcro to keep this ring in place. These areas must be cleaned with alcohol and also have the adhesion promoter put on them for them to stay in contact. Once everything is set up properly, you'll line the ring up perfectly, making sure there's even gaps on top, bottom, left, and right. Push it in place to stay secure. And if you've done your installation properly, your wheel should illuminate just like this. Before we get to this step, the first thing you're going to do is have your wheels removed. The most important step is making sure that the prep is done properly. So the first thing you want to do is, of course, wash your wheels, soap and water, get all the oils, brake dust, and debris off of it. Once it's fairly clean, we use a lot of this glass cleaner. It's spray away. You can get it at Walmart fairly cheap, under $2. You're going to wipe down the entire area where your LEDs are going to be sitting. The most important part of this is also getting inside these little grooves where you're going to have these tight bends. This is where a lot of dirt and grime likes to sit. After you've cleaned it well and gotten all the dust off, you want to degrease it. Just with regular alcohol. You can get it at CVS, Walgreens, Walmart. This is going to dry out any oils that may have been on the wheel. Once the alcohol is evaporated, the next step is going to be using your 3M adhesion promoter that's been provided to you in the kit. This is very important. If you do not put this on, your LEDs will fall off in a couple of weeks. So lightly put your adhesion promoter everywhere where your LEDs are going to be sitting on, especially in your grooves. let this stuff dry up just a little bit. So if you've gotten the kit from me, you've already been provided with pre-cut LED strips. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and mount one. And the way to do this, where the connector is, you want to get that as close as possible to the hole, the hollow hole that's on the wheel. So where this curve is at, you want to make sure you put a bend in the LED so that way it makes contact and it's not going to catch any dirt or grime. Press down hard everywhere where the adhesive is touching to the wheel. You're going to feed your LED through the hole. And you're going to repeat this step throughout the wheel. Once all the LEDs have been mounted on the wheel secure, we're going to pull all the positive and negatives through the brake side, through the brake rotor side, where we will then reduce them down to one positive and one negative. Use the Molex connectors that we've provided you for easy, quick disconnect for the brake ring, and we'll show you how to do that step now. After we've already installed all the LEDs and pulled the wires out, this is similar to what it's going to look like. We usually use a hook tool sometimes if it's hard to get these wires out. You can get these from, Sears, any hardware store. So the next step we're going to do, we're going to consolidate all these down into one positive, one negative, like I said before. Once these are all consolidated down, we are going to have to secure them to one of these holes somewhere along the way, sometimes two. And this is just to ensure that the LEDs aren't being pulled apart or being thrown everywhere from the inertia of the wheel while it's spinning. So let me get this taken care of and we'll be right back. We've just completed installing all the LEDs to the front wheel. We've pulled all the positives and negatives out on the brake rotor side. We've consolidated it down into one positive and one negative. We have connected the Molex connector to one side, as you see how it's pulled out. And I want you to take a closer look. I know it was a little bit darker in the earlier pictures, but you see how we've intertwined these through the holes of the cast wheel. This allows the wires not to be moving when this motorcycle is moving. You can zip tie them in, you can intertwine them, but in the end result, you just want it to be secure. So, take a look at how all those wires are done. Okay, so next, this is the ring that we're going to be mounting on. This is what's necessary to conduct electricity from the brush block over to the wheel and to illuminate it. Before you put any tape or any adhesive on, what you want to do, you want to go ahead and place it on and get a good fit and line up exactly where it's going to be. So generally it's a good idea to stay face forward, get a good line of where this thing's going to be placed. So we're looking about right there. So now that we know where this is going to be placed, we're going to take the 3M double-sided Velcro. And the best mounting points for this is not going to be on the actual brake rotor bolts because this ring will protrude out too much on this particular bike and will hit the fork. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna put the double-sided 3M locking tape on these areas right here on the inside of the brake rotor. Alright. And just to let y'all know, I went ahead and cleaned this area off with alcohol, and then also put some 3M adhesion promoter on there, so that way we have a good bite whenever this ring sits on here. If you come around the side, you can. If you come around this side, you can see that the 3M double-sided locking tape protrudes just a hair past the bolts. Okay, so my next step, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this connection behind the hub, connect it in place. I'm going to undo my tape. Sometimes it's easier to just lay this wheel on its back, and but for video purposes, we're just gonna do it here. Okay, that seems pretty well centered. What I used are these lines right here. If you can see these lines on the hub, that's what I used to align it, and they're pretty much all they're all pretty much spaced about the same. So what we're gonna do now with this cable that's back here, we're gonna go ahead and secure it with some zip ties. You don't need to tighten them up just yet. Just kind of get them located where you want them at. Okay, this is the point right here. All right, so we've got those lines secured. They're not going to be going anywhere. They're out of the way of the brake rotor. Let me go ahead and trim the fat. And if all went well and connected the way it should be, we'll connect the negative to the outermost ring as we've designated for the ground, and 2 lines in, bam, we've got light. So this is ultimately how this works. The next step is going to be mounting the wheels and mounting the brush block brackets and the brush blocks, and we'll move on to that next step now. Yeah. See you in a few. Okay, so for the rear wheel, we've already mounted the brush block to the bracket. We're going to come over here. This is a little bit different. Seeing that this bracket sits right here on the swing arm, we have already pre-cut the rear mounting screws for this bracket. We used an electric Dremel to do that. So on the Yamaha Warriors and the Yamaha Raiders, the ring is going to be small enough to set on the recessed portion of the wheel. Once again, we've allocated the outside ring to negative and the second ring in for positive. So we'll slide this in. Now I'm just going to get these screws started. If you don't trim these down, what will happen, the screws will start going into the swing arm and misalign your brackets. So we're just going to get them started. So now we already have everything aligned. We're just going to apply a little bit of pressure, put it about halfway in so that these brush blocks can wear evenly and properly. We'll tighten them down. So once you've gotten the rear bracket secured, it's not moving at all and everything is aligned, you can go ahead and connect your line on the rear wheel as well as the front wheel. We're going to come over here to the kill switch and go ahead and power it up. And if we've done the install correctly, we should have power. With these kits, you'll have 3 different dim modes. You'll have 3 different flash functions. And you also have a breathe function. So to finalize the install, what we're going to do, we're going to come back, take some small zip ties, tighten up any of the lines so that way they're secure, out of the way of any moving wheels, any moving objects, making sure that you can turn the handlebars right and left without any snags, any pulls, and after that we'll be ready for a test ride.